click on Get Tickets. We'll see you next time. Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. Black Americans intentionally discriminated against at every step of the home buying process.
The value of my home is not indicative on the color of my skin.
Bias in real estate. You guys told this agent we're prepared to pay cash.
Yes, we were still denied.
We were blocked that day.
What happened when a real estate agent was recorded on camera during an undercover investigation? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. Hey, you know, many people are raised to go to school, get a job, get married, and then get a house, right? It's part of the American dream. But not anymore. For the first time, home ownership is out of reach for most people, and Americans are not putting up with it. Prospective buyers and housing protesters are demanding that something be done about this issue. But what if I told you there is a group of Americans who have always dealt with real estate and housing injustices? Imagine always being priced out, even if you have the money, or not being sold a home, even if there isn't a housing shortage. You got the money, they got the houses, but you can't buy one. What if I told you Black Americans have been systematically and intentionally discriminated against for generations at every step of the home buying process, resulting in a 30% gap in home ownership rates between Black and white citizens? Would that shock you? Well, some of my guests today say despite laws to reduce discrimination and practices like redlining, many real estate agents, brokers, and loan officers still engage in unequal treatment. Some bankers who give different interest rates to appraisers who lower property values based on race and ethnicity. These biases continue to play a role in real estate transactions even today. Take a look.
America has a major racial wealth gap.
The typical Black family has only a fraction of the wealth of the typical white family. And many experts say that the root of that problem is real estate.
The gap could be widening between Black and white neighborhoods.
One of the drivers of that wealth gap is redlining.
For decades, the U.S. government rated many minority neighborhoods, delineated in red, too risky for mortgage lending, blocking many Black Americans from building wealth through homeownership. Redlining was outlawed in 1968, but its impact remains. Today, nearly 75% of white Americans own their home versus 44% of Black Americans.
Although the practice was outlawed in 1968, its effects are still being felt today.
I think you see it in every city in America. I mean, this is where the basis of segregated neighborhoods remains to this day. So you still are living with the generational divide and the wealth gap that happens because of that.
Despite the practice being illegal, Black loan applicants are still turned away by banks at a higher rate than white applicants. The widespread use of redlining has allowed generations of white Americans to build wealth through equity in homes and businesses, further widening a wealth gap African Americans have yet to rebound from.
74% of white Americans now own their home versus just 44% of Black Americans. Now, there's a problem somewhere here. And instead of being defensive, we need to start being part of the solution. Let's treat ourselves and others with dignity and respect. Let's not just be quiet so others can remain comfortable. What I'm talking about here, as I said before, is how would you feel if you could not buy a home or keep the home you own because of what you look like. My first guest, Keisha, says after her grandfather Daniel passed away in 2020, she inherited his home in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood in Seattle. She says what happened next was heartbreaking and alarming. Take a look.
Dr. Phil, about 2 years ago, my life was turned upside down when I inherited my grandfather's multi-million-dollar home. My grandfather bought this home in 1968, and I literally grew up right here. I took my first steps downstairs. When he passed away, I inherited his home as the sole heir. The challenges of inheriting a family home came with a tax. The day after my grandpa passed away, I started receiving letters from people attempting to buy his house. One stated that I was behind in my taxes, which I was not. Companies were trying to pose as financial institutions, often to get you into reverse mortgages. One neighbor literally sent a letter expressing their condolences, but then offering to buy the house. They offered me $800,000, which is a lot of money, but it was a slap in the face because in this neighborhood, I know my house is worth almost $2 million. Their actions really showed you don't want me here. I believe that those letters were not random. They know for sure who is inheriting and what. We are a Black family in a community that used to be all Black. Then the state of Washington started to investigate me. They believed that there was potential elderly financial abuse, and they literally froze all of my accounts. I was under investigation for about a year. So in 2021, I decided to remodel the house. I thought that, okay, I'm a really good candidate for a renovation loan. I have an 820 credit score. This house is worth almost $2 million. I was denied for loans repeatedly. The emotional toll that went along with inheriting my grandfather's house were so much more than I can bear. I've had to fight for myself every step of the way. I don't want other people to have to keep fighting. You should be able to have peace in your grief.
Okay, Keisha, it's good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, Dr. Phil.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much.
I really am, and you're right. You should have peace in your grief, and you shouldn't be subject to predatory people circling around you the minute something like that happens. That was bothersome to you.
It really was, yeah.
And you think all or most of it was racially driven?
I think there was a lot of it that was definitely racially driven, for sure.
What do you think was the most transparent, racially motivated attempt to exploit you?
Yeah, there were, you know, when my grandpa passed away, there were letters that came immediately after he passed away. And to be in an area of Seattle where these are Black families used to be, they're not anymore. The letters were very clear, like, we don't want you here. There was one in particular that was just heartbreaking. And then going to apply for a loan and realizing that, hey, to get an appraisal, one of the requests is either don't let them in or don't let them know whose house it is and what type of family lives there, remove the pictures that look like you. And understanding what I know and being educated, that means we need you to not show that this is a Black home, because a Black home is going to be valued less. The value of my home is not indicative on the color of my skin.
But the truth is, we have empirical evidence as well as anecdotal case studies that show exactly that. If you hide the fact that this is a Black-owned home, the appraisal is likely to be higher than if you don't hide that fact, which is a sad chronicle of affairs. How many times did you try to get loans to renovate that home?
Oh my God, I would say probably 12. And I've been a homeowner since I was 21 years old. So this is not new to home ownership. I understood what costs were gonna be needed and went to the bank, had all my papers. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, but I'm very good on my accounting and things. Denied. And this house is paid off. So there's no mortgage, it's just full equity. And I'm like, to not be able to tap the equity, what's going on here? I barely had any debt. I should have been a perfect candidate for
Perfect candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a great credit score.
I mean, I was so proud of it. 820. Like, what the heck? So,
Yeah, you should be proud of that. And you are entrepreneurial. You own a home. You have no mortgage. You've got this home, which is free. You have all of the collateral in the world, and you're not asking for an exorbitant amount to renovate the home, but you keep getting no.
Yeah.
But what explanation did they give you?
Yeah, so, you know, they can say, oh, we're talking debt to income. And I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. And when I ask for further explanation, we just go off of the computers. And then I'm like, okay, so if you're going off a computer, but you're not looking at the hard facts, something's not adding up.
The renovations did get done.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about how they got done and why that is a generational problem for creating generational wealth. And we're also going to meet a couple who claim they filed a lawsuit after being denied property units because of their race. Now, there's a slight twist to their story. We're going to find out what that is when we add them to the conversation next.
It didn't matter to her if we had the financial means or resources. She just did not want to sell to us.
Her gut feeling tells her that she wouldn't get along with us. Well, we're going to see about that gut, and we'll see about it in court.
There is nothing hotter than real, honest-to-goodness love.
Mama wanna tell you where it's at, I wanna get that.
I was made for this.
Get with it or get lost.
You dropped the ball big time.
I'm throwing y'all my very own Miami yacht party.
It just shook up all of the dynamics.
Y'all ready for this?
I'm taking you down bit by bit. I can't wait to see you try.
It's only just begun.
Tonight.
We're gonna be outnumbered with number 3.
We're getting pulled in different directions. That can be very challenging.
Tori's water broke.
Look at that!
Little People, Big World, all new, tonight at 9 on TLC.
Bring home a spellcasting adventure with the Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand.
Stupefy!
Connect your smart devices, cast spells, and witness the magic come to life. Lights.
Lumos Maximum.
Sounds.
Media loading.
And your TV.
Expecto Patronum. Cool.
The Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand. Order now.
Damn, he's gorgeous.
My girlfriend has a girlfriend.
Have you been seeing other people?
No matter what happens, somebody's gonna end up being heartbroken.
90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise, Monday at 8 on TLC. Wednesday nights.
With somebody out there targeting the cheerleaders.
You never know what's happening next door.
As far as I know, it was my neighbor.
Murder in the Heartland, all new, Wednesday at 9, followed by an all-night murder under the Friday night lights on ID. Sunday.
The entire family is getting together for a huge therapy session. I hope that the therapist is ready for us.
90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, all new, Sunday at 8 on TLC.
So I posted about the renovation and my story about my grandfather's house online. In over 20, literally in 24 hours, it had 1 million views.
If you don't think that gentrification is real, let me tell you something. I cannot tell you how many predatory letters I got to buy my home below market value. Property taxes are a thing, and people know that, and so they feel like, oh, these black families are going to lose their house the minute that somebody passes away, and let me be the first one to jump in and stake my claim. Not realizing that some of us know what's going on. So you get letters saying you're behind on your property taxes when you're not. You get letters saying that you're behind on your mortgage, don't got one. And so there's all these tactics that they use to try to scare you to feel like you are not able to stay in your land. If you guys think that it is not real that people come after your property when you got something, you got another thing coming. This is real, and it literally does happen.
Oh, yes, it does. We're talking about real estate buys today with people who claim they're being blocked from buying a home or getting a fair appraisal on their existing home based on their race. Now, James and Misty, an African-American couple who are real estate investors from Houston, say they filed a federal discrimination lawsuit after a local real estate agent allegedly rejected their intention to buy condos based on race. Take a look.
James and myself have been licensed real estate brokers for more than a decade. On August 20th, 2022, we went to purchase 3 condominium units.
This agent wasn't excited about showing us at all. She hit us with so many irrelevant questions. Where are you from? How'd you find this place?
The most flagrant violations occurred when we went to discuss the terms of the contract. The first comment the agent makes was that FHA financing was not available. We informed her we were going to pay cash for all 3 condominiums.
She stated that she wouldn't sell to us because she had planned to convert the community to a 55 and older community.
But this one is a 55 plus.
So it's not your active adult community yet, but later it will be turned into
No.
So you refuse to sell to us because we're not 55 or older? She responded, no, I'm not going to sell to you because my gut feeling tells me that we wouldn't get along with you people.
No, it's not that. I think probably I have my gut instinct told me probably we won't be able to get along with each other well. This is how I feel.
Why is that? Why do you think we won't be able to get along with one another? I've never experienced anything like that.
We were flabbergasted.
We knew that we were being discriminated towards. We filed a federal lawsuit.
I've been Black all of my life, and I'm very aware of systematic racism, but I've never had anyone blatantly deny me of my civil liberties just solely based off the color of my skin. Real estate is a very necessary tool to have the American dream.
We are not going to allow this to just pass us by and not do anything about it.
Well, Misty, James, thank you all for joining the conversation. And you've been listening to what Keisha and I have been talking about. You guys even told this agent, we're prepared to pay cash for these units.
Yes.
So if you're concerned about any of that, don't be. You took every obstacle off the table, correct?
Correct.
And still, you just got stonewalled.
Yes, we were still denied. It didn't matter to her if we had the financial means or resources. She just did not want to sell to us.
And was it hard to wrap your head around that?
She felt she denied us, but in my opinion, we were delayed because we're still fighting towards accomplishing our goals. We're not. She doesn't have the power to say forever. She just had the power to say not that day. And that's the reason why we filed a federal lawsuit. She stated in the video that her gut feeling tells her that she wouldn't get along with us. Well, we're going to see about that gut, and we'll see about it in court as well.
You said if this is about the price, we're prepared to pay the price. You said we're not even going to haggle with you about the price.
Correct. All we wanted to do was negotiate the number a little bit lower because we felt that the price for square footage was just a tad bit high at the moment. They're a fairly new condominium development. We wanted to negotiate it just a little bit lower than what they were asking, and she flat out said, I don't negotiate.
What were the questions she was asking?
She was asking questions like, why are you interested? Are you from this area? Where did you grow up? Like completely irrelevant questions.
An all-new Celebrity IOU is here. As new stars go big in giving back.
Bam! You made my life.
Celebrity IOU, all new Monday night at 9 on HGTV.
Next on Love and Marriage Huntsville.
I think I saw an interview, and they asked Mel how she doing with Martell's new boo thing. Oh, she felt probably happier when he was leveling down. But the level up is kind of a gut punch.
Hey, Martell?
Hey, what up?
And don't keep me outside all this damn heat. Yeah, it's outside today.
You gonna invite me into that house? Don't play with me like that.
Love and Marriage Huntsville. New episode, Saturday at 8/7 Central.
Bring home a spellcasting adventure with the Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand.
Stupefy!
Connect your smart devices, cast spells, and witness the magic come to life. Lights.
Lumos Maximum.
Sounds.
Media loading.
And your TV.
Expecto Patronum. Cool.
The Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand. Order now.
Wednesday nights.
There's somebody out there targeting the cheerleaders.
You never know what's happening next door.
As far as I know, it was my neighbor.
Murder in the Heartland, all new Wednesday at 9, followed by an all-night murder under the Friday night lights on ID.
Today I have another date with Dan. I have a fear of the water because I've almost drowned. No, go away. Do not get on my board. It was karma.
I am Shauna Ray, tonight at 10 on TLC.
There is nothing hotter than real, honest-to-goodness love.
Mama wanna tell you where it's at. I wanna get that.
I was made for this.
Get with it or get lost.
You dropped the ball big time.
I'm throwing y'all my very own Miami yacht party.
It just shook up all of the dynamics.
Y'all ready for this?
The first comment the agent makes was that FHA financing was not available. We informed her we were going to pay cash for all 3 condominiums.
She stated that she wouldn't sell to us because she had planned to convert the community to a 55 and older community.
But this one is 55 plus.
So you refuse to sell to us because we're not 55 or older? She responded, no, I'm not going to sell to you because my gut feeling tells me that we wouldn't get along with you people.
No, it's not that. I have my gut instinct told me probably we won't be able to get along with each other well. This is how I know.
What were the questions she was asking?
When we started the tour, she was very reluctant to show us, but when we got inside the unit, she was asking questions like, where are you from? Why are you interested in this condominium? Are you from this area? Where did you grow up? Like completely irrelevant questions. I've given several tours and I've been on several tours. Those just aren't questions that you ask an individual. Yeah, exactly. That has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. And you know, I mentioned generational wealth, and there is a material difference on average between the net worth of white Americans and black Americans. And the primary asset in net worth is usually owned real estate.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said you did your renovations.
Oh, yeah.
And how did you do them? You didn't get a loan, so how'd you do them?
No, so thank God my grandpa encouraged me to get a house at 21. So I had an asset that had been growing for almost 7 years. So I sold my home to renovate the home that I inherited.
Yeah, but see, therein lies the problem.
Yes.
You sold an asset that you had that had appreciated for 7 years that you could have kept.
As a rental.
Had it as a rent property, let it appreciate for another 20 years, 30 years or whatever, but you were forced to liquidate that in order to finance your own renovations of that home. So you were basically, that was taken away from you.
Yes, I had to take steps back to get steps forward. And thank God I had a good credit score. So I was able to use like different types of smaller loans, but higher interest rates, just not the best option.
So you had an asset, and so you had to liquidate that to do the next thing instead of build your wealth. You guys are delayed, so you're unable to build those assets.
Correct.
Yep. And the way
that's how this gets real.
It's very real.
Yeah.
And the way you handle money is with money. You know, my wife and I, we have an algorithm in our relationship when it comes to business, and that is we don't use the S word. We don't use the spend word. We don't spend money, we circulate money. And so that's what we were doing. We were adding real estate into our real estate portfolio to continue circulating money to build generational wealth for our children, of course. And we were blocked that day. And so, like I said, we don't spend money, we circulate it. And that's how we handle money with money.
Yeah, which makes complete sense. And that's, you know, this is not hard to understand. if you look at it with real people in real situations who are blocked. Yeah. And that's something that is absolutely shameful that it happens, and it's enraging. So what does the accused realtor have to say about James and Misty's allegations? Well, we're going to find out next. That is no different than if they went into that couple's house, took $500,000 and snuck out the back door and ran down the alley. Closed captioning provided by...
Damn, he's gorgeous.
My girlfriend has a girlfriend.
Have you been seeing other people?
No matter what happens, somebody's gonna end up being heartbroken.
90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise, Monday at 8 on TLC.
It's a Friday night of bling and ka-ching, house hunting with lotto winners.
I want to keep living that high roller life.
And a competition of homes gone glitzy.
Only one will bling home the win and be crowned champion.
Live the high life, Friday at 9 on HGTV.
Hey, did you hear? There are new COVID-19 booster shots designed for recent Omicron variants. Pfizer, the more you want to do, the more we want to do. Schedule yours at vaccines.gov.
Airwick scented oils are infused with natural essential oils to create authentic seasonal scents that fill your home with holiday spirit all season long. Connect to nature this season.
Bring home a spellcasting adventure with the Harry Potter Magicaster wand.
Stupefy!
Connect your smart devices, cast spells, and witness the magic come to life. Lights.
Lumos Maximum.
Sounds.
Media loading.
And your TV.
Expecto Patronum. Cool.
The Harry Potter Magicaster wand. Order now.
Next on Love and Marriage Huntsville.
I think I saw an interview, and they asked Mel how she doing with Martell's new boo thing. Oh, she felt probably happier when he was leveling down. But the level up is kind of a gut punch.
Hey, Martell?
Hey, what up? Hey, don't keep me outside all this damn
Yeah,
heat.
it's outside today.
You gonna invite me to that house? Don't play with me like that.
Love and Marriage Huntsville. New episode, Saturday at 8/7 Central.
Wednesday nights.
With somebody out there targeting the cheerleaders.
You never know what's happening next door.
As far as I know, it was my neighbor.
Murder in the Heartland, all new Wednesday at 9, followed by an all-night murder under the Friday night lights on ID.
There is nothing hotter than real, honest-to-goodness love.
Mama wanna tell you where it's at. I wanna get that.
I was made for this.
Get with it or get lost.
You dropped the ball big time.
I'm throwing y'all my very own Miami yacht party.
It just shook up all of the dynamics.
Y'all ready for this?
I'm taking you down bit by bit. I can't wait to see you try. It's only just begun.
A racial discrimination lawsuit in Northern California highlights an issue that many African Americans have complained about for decades. Home values set too low when the owners are black. Tanisha Tate Austin and her husband Paul say a white woman who appraised their home said its value at less than $1 million. So they ran an experiment.
So when mortgage rates were low, it appraised at just $995,000.
And when it came in so low, we both were like, oh, this is wrong.
So for a second appraisal, they decided to do something they felt would get them a better number for sure, with the help of a friend named Jan.
And the thing to know about Jan is...
she's white.
With Jan now playing homeowner, they cleared away their own photos and art. After what they call their whitewash, the new appraisal came in, nearly $1.5 million, close to $500,000 more than the appraisal roughly a month before.
You might as well say it's heartbreaking.
It's the financial impact, but it's the emotional impact. It's the feeling every day, like the tax of being African American in this country.
If that doesn't enrage you, I don't know what else. That is no different than if they went into that couple's house, got in there safe and took $500,000 out of it and snuck out the back door and ran down the alley. It's no different. Now, I'd like to add James and Misty's civil rights attorney, Justin Moore, to the conversation. Justin, what do you think about this?
Well, I think this real estate agent, we call her dead to rights. She had this circulation, this ad circulating throughout the community, specifically trying to sell this property to people from a specific community. And we know that that is a pure violation of the Fair Housing Act. And the fact that the Ra Amaris went into that complex that day with money ready to buy, and this woman drugged them through the ringer. First, she refused to negotiate, which we know when you refuse to negotiate on the basis of race, color, nationality, sex, religion, familial status, and disability, we know that that is a clear violation of the Fair Housing Act. We know that she violated that. Then she proceeded to say that she had this age, issue that she wanted to project in order to say that these two folks did not meet the age requirement. It was some dubious number of 55 years and older, which wasn't in place at the time. And ultimately, when they said, hey, we have money to buy now, all these hoops you're having us jump through is really unnecessary. She said in her gut, she did not feel like she would get along with this couple. We're actively gonna fight against that and make sure not only that the Ra Amaris get what they're looking for, but that this woman loses her ability to do this to other folks in that community.
Well, this Fair Housing Act that you've been talking about passed in 1968?
Right.
So
correct.
Here we are over 50 years later, and still this is going on. And this is not an isolated situation where we found one rogue agent doing this. Sadly, that's not the case. This agent who represented herself as being with RE/MAX?
Yes, sir. RE/MAX and EXP.
Well, we have a statement from RE/MAX that says, we can confirm that Josie Lynn left RE/MAX as of December 2021 and had no affiliation with the RE/MAX brand in any way at the time of this alleged occurrence. Any use by Ms. Lynn of any RE/MAX branded materials after her departure from RE/MAX is impermissible and unauthorized. RE/MAX is committed to supporting home ownership dreams of everyone equally, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, nationality, disability, gender, sexual orientation, or family status. So they apparently have a copy of the Fair Housing Act and are dedicated to that and going public saying that.
So they say, and we haven't received their answer to our lawsuit yet.
Right.
Once they put that answer in writing and we're able to litigate that, we're going to see how committed they are to what they put in the statement. That company is large enough to know if someone is illegally using their content to discriminate.
So you say they either knew or should have known.
Or they should have known.
Yeah.
That
which is
was
the negligence
going on.
standard, right?
Yeah. I get no benefit out of lying on anyone.
She violated us.
That's why we're filing this lawsuit, because of statements like that.
Yeah, it has to stop.
Closed captioning provided by
Oral treatment for COVID-19. Could it be right for you? If you have a high risk factor, like being over 65, heart disease, diabetes, asthma, or smoking, and you test positive, don't wait. Ask your provider about oral treatment right away.
Dude, you coming? Alka-Seltzer Plus Power Max gels with more concentrated power, because the only thing dripping should be your style. Plop Plop is fizz with Alka-Seltzer Plus. Also tried for fast sinus and pain relief.
Dancing is everything. Soccer is the best.
But her moderate to severe eczema could make it hard for her.
My skin was so itchy and my outfit was uncomfortable. Now, my skin's not as itchy.
Now, we're staying ahead of her eczema.
There's a power inside all of us to live our passion. And Dupixent works on the inside to help heal your skin from within. It helps block a key source of inflammation inside the body that can cause eczema, so they can have clearer skin and less itch. Serious Serious allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems, such as eye pain or vision changes, including blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines without talking to your doctor.
Healing from within is a wonderful thing.
Ask your child's eczema specialist how Dupixent can help heal their skin from within.
Bring home a spellcasting adventure with the Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand.
Stupefy!
Connect your smart devices, cast spells, and witness the magic come to life. Lights.
Lumos Maximum.
Sounds.
Media Loging.
And your TV.
Expecto Patronum. Cool.
The Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand. Order now.
There is nothing hotter than real, honest-to-goodness love.
Mama wanna tell you where it's at. I wanna get that.
I was made for this.
Get with it or get lost.
You dropped the ball big time.
I'm throwing y'all my very own Miami yacht party.
It just shook up all of the dynamics.
Y'all ready for this?
I'm taking you down bit by bit. I can't wait to see you try.
It's only just begun.
An all-new Celebrity IOU is here. As new stars go big in giving back.
Bam! You made my life.
Celebrity IOU, all new Monday night at 9 on HGTV.
Next on Love and Marriage Huntsville.
I think I saw an interview, and they asked Mel how she doing with Martell's new boo thing. Oh, she felt probably happier when he was leveling down. But the level up is kind of a gut punch.
Hey, Martell?
Hey, what up? And don't keep me outside all this damn
Yeah,
heat.
it's outside today.
You gonna invite me to that house? Don't play with me like that.
Love and Marriage Huntsville. New episode, Saturday at 8, 7 Central.
Here is a statement from Raphael V. Wilkins, the Wilkins law firm. Josie Lynn declined to appear, but her lawyer did give a statement. It says, my law firm represents Josie Lynn. While the Ramaris have chosen to literally market their version of their interaction with Ms. Lynn to every media outlet, I urge caution in giving any credence to the Ramaris' fictional account. When people move with breakneck speed to get in front of a camera, as the Ramaris have, to accuse another person of racial discrimination, media should approach such claims with extreme carefulness. In Ms. Lynn's case, when the unvarnished truth is told, it will be crystal clear that she did not discriminate against the Ramaris based on their race or ethnicity. Ms. Lynn is a person of color herself. She is a Chinese immigrant who came to America to work hard. She is cognizant of and devoted to treating all people with respect and dignity, irrespective of race or ethnicity.
I get no benefit out of lying on anyone.
And see, here's the thing: is that when you're silent about your pain, people will kill you and say you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so, what are we supposed to do? Just be silent? We were completely discriminated against. We were disrespected, and she underestimated us. She violated us. And what we do, of course, my wife and I, if you violate, we demonstrate. And that's the reason why we filed a federal lawsuit.
And Dr. Phil, can I jump in?
Yes, please.
I mean, so that statement is very cute, right? But we've detailed brick by brick, element by element of everything that she violated in the Fair Housing Act. Yeah. And we have this ad that she put out into the community, which is a clear violation. But you see that statement did not even address that. We have material evidence that this woman is discriminating against folks that aren't Asian. And we have video evidence that she discriminated against these two people right here.
Yeah, we need video.
Right.
Video's necessary because we know as Black people, you need video sometimes.
But wait, we have this long striding legacy of racism in this country. And we have this huge legacy of Jim Crow still permeating within this country today. And it's based on fictional statements. That's why we're filing this lawsuit, because of statements like that.
Yeah, it has to stop. That type of ideology and dogma has no place in the United States, but less in the world. That was the first time that we had ever heard that statement, and it continues to baffle me how she tries to perpetuate that she did nothing wrong.
I record too, because when you're moving money as a person of color, they don't trust what you're doing. And we know sometimes you need to have proof to prove your validity, because these things happen. And it's so easy to say, oh, they're just pulling the race card. You know, they're just pulling the race card. When it's like,
I don't think being poor, I don't think the word poor and black should be synonymous.
yeah.
You should let your judgment lie still. That way you don't have to suffer. Because that's what's going to happen. She's going to suffer during this federal lawsuit.
Well, and my point is, and I want everybody, you have to step back and look at this. This is chess, not checkers. There's a lot of moving parts here. But it boils down to something very simple. In this country, a lot of generational wealth is built on real estate. And when people are discriminated against with regard to acquiring and retaining real estate interest, then that's going to perpetuate across generations. I guarantee you, most of you here and most of you watching, most of your net worth is tied up in your real estate. And if that's denied, you're forced to liquidate, you're denied from acquiring, then that's going to then perpetuate to the next generation instead of build to the next generation. There is a cause and effect here. This is a real impact and effect. And it can't be allowed to continue.
Absolutely.
So what happened when a real estate agent was recorded on camera during an undercover investigation allegedly steering home buyers based on race? And steering is a term that we'll define when we come back. It's an ugly term, but you'll see what we mean right after the break.
Today, you can give a gift like no other. A gift that can help St. Jude Children's Research Hospital save lives.
I think it's the most worthwhile place to put your money when it comes to childhood cancer.
If it weren't for St. Jude, I wouldn't be sitting here today. If it weren't for St. Jude, a lot of kids wouldn't be with their families every day.
Let's come together to help the children of St. Jude fight childhood cancer. Visit this website, call this number, or scan the QR code with your $19 monthly donation. Join with your debit or credit card right now, and we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt you can proudly wear to show your support. Today, you can help St. Jude save lives.
It takes a heart for somebody to say, I have this extra that I'm willing to give to St. Jude so that they can help save more lives.
Make your monthly donation today to help cure childhood cancer everywhere.
Cleaning is the worst. Seriously, there's gotta be a better way. So we gave Swiffer a shot. If we don't love it, we get our money back. Spoiler alert, love it.
Sweeper's heavy-duty dry cloths grab dust and hair and lock it away. Better than my broom that can push it around. It even gets into hard-to-clean grooves and grout lines. Cool.
And Swiffer Duster gets in all those hard-to-reach places, trapping 3 times more dust. Yeah, switching to Swiffer, totally worth it. Love it or your money back.
Dude, you coming? Because the only thing dripping should be your style. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. With Alka-Seltzer Plus Cold and Flu Relief. Also try for Fizzy Fast Cough Relief.
Real, honest to goodness love.
Mama wanna tell you where it's at. I wanna get that.
I was made for this.
Get that. Baby,
Y'all ready for this?
It's a new leader in town.
Well, you the one just threatening me? Baby, that's what I say. Come for me, go low. If you want to, I'm going to hell. Okay?
So I really need that. I won't take out any money unless you have a pre-qualification letter. So I need to know that you're pre-qualified for a mortgage. Oh, so that means I can't go out to see anything. I won't do it. You can try another person, but I don't have the time to do that.
Good, I'm just going to take some notes and introduce you to signature. What is your availability? When can you start looking at houses?
I would say not this coming week, but the following week.
Okay. So today is, let's set up our first appointment. I will send you listings this afternoon.
That was a clip from a Long Island Newsday documentary titled Testing the Divide that made national news when the reporters revealed the results of their 3-year investigation that allegedly caught bias in the form of steering on camera. Now, I'd like to add to the conversation Chris Murray, the attorney who represented one of the real estate agents featured in the Long Island Newsday documentary. He says his client, Leanne Vickery, was falsely accused of discriminatory real estate practices, and the court later found that she did not engage in discriminatory behavior. So, Chris, thank you for being here. I appreciate you contributing to this dialogue. So, give us your point of view on this.
Well, first of all, what you showed was not my client. My client got caught up. There is clearly discrimination in real estate. It's especially prominent on Long Island, where it's a very segregated community. But my client showed both testers the properties they wanted to see. She did in no way did she discourage anyone from buying a home or making an offer on a home in the area they wanted. In fact, they sent emails saying, which houses do you want to see? And both testers told them, and they took them to the houses.
Well, let me be clear, because I want to, in fairness, I want to say this clip was from that documentary investigation. It was not of your specific client. We did ask for a clip of your specific client and did not get one. But that was not your specific client, so I don't want anybody to miss that. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
And it's important that when they brought a proceeding with regard to her license, and when the trade association brought a disciplinary proceeding, when the full video of her conduct was viewed, she was found to have done nothing wrong. And people that are innocent get lumped in with people that are guilty. And I believe that's what happened to Ms. Vickery.
You agree that this does happen and that it is a bad practice in terms of bias within real estate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of reasons for the segregation on Long Island. As you mentioned, the redlining. There's also zoning laws. There's also political trying Long Island not to become the next Queens. There are a lot of reasons for the segregation, and it is segregation. But the real estate agents, they're not necessarily the major players in what causes this. Most real estate agents, not all, but most, just want to make a living. If there's a deal to be had, they're going to do it. What happened to Ms. Vickery was horrible. Her life was turned upside down. People read the article, they don't follow up on the hearing or what happens afterwards. She was acquitted or found that she did not engage in any kind of wrongful conduct. But, she lost her job. Her neighbors read the newspaper. It put pressure on her family life. She had to pay me. It became a very trying time for her. And I think, there are clearly, as I said, clearly examples of discrimination. And I think it's important to look at things factually and to punish those that have done wrongful conduct. But it doesn't help anybody to bring someone that's innocent into this process. And I think only it takes away resources from going after the real bad guys.
Closed captioning provided by...
An all-new Celebrity IOU is here. As new stars go big in giving back.
Bam! It made my life.
Celebrity IOU, all new Monday night at 9 on HGTV. Sunday.
The entire family is getting together for a huge therapy session. I hope that the therapist is ready for us.
90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. All new, Sunday at 8 on TLC.
I'm taking you down bit by bit. I can't wait to see you try.
It's only just begun.
Today I have another date with Dan. I have a fear of the water because I've almost drowned. No, no way. Do not get on my board. It was karma.
I Am Shauna Ray, tonight at 10 on TLC.
Bring home a spellcasting adventure with the Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand.
Stupefy!
Connect your smart devices, cast spells, and witness the magic come to life. Lights.
Lumos Maximum.
Sounds.
Media loading.
And your TV.
Expecto Patronum. Cool.
The Harry Potter Magic Caster Wand. Order now.
The long-lasting scent of Gain Flings made it smell like Dave was in his happy place. The massage chair at the mall. But he wasn't. Gain Flings with Oxy Boost and Febreze. Bye-bye, tough odors. Try Gain Odor Defense.
Peaceful state. Full plate. Wait, are you my blind date? Dancing crew, trip for two, now the final interview. Buy or lease. Masterpiece. Inside joke. Artichoke. Game with Doug. Brand new mug. Come here, kid. Give me a hug. Have you gotten your updated COVID-19 booster? They're designed to help protect against recent Omicron variants. Schedule yours at vaccines.gov.
There is nothing hotter than real, honest to goodness love.
Mama wanna tell you where it's at. I wanna get that.
I was made for this.
Get with it or get lost. You dropped the ball big time.
I'm throwing y'all my very own Miami yacht party.
It just shook up all of the dynamics.
Y'all ready for this?
Next on Love and Marriage Huntsville.
I think I saw an interview, and they asked Mel how she doing with Martell's new boo thing. Oh, she felt probably happier when he was leveling down. But the level up is kind of a gut punch.
Hey, Martell?
Hey, what up? Hey, don't keep me outside all this damn
Yeah,
heat.
it's outside today.
You gonna invite me into that house? Don't play with me like that.
Love and Marriage Huntsville. New episode, Saturday at 8/7 Central.
Well, we're out of time today, but we've only started to scratch the surface with this controversial topic. So tune in tomorrow when we take a look at alleged racial discrimination caught on tape. And it's hard for many people to wrap their brain around real estate bias happening nowadays, but we'll talk more about the footage from the undercover investigation by Long Island Newsday that pulled the veil way back and exposed the ugly truth that most of us just don't want to admit still exists in this day and time. Here's what's going down tomorrow. Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, real estate bias.
A seller will say, tell me about the buyers. I said, oh, they're a great couple. And they said, well, what's their nationality?
Exposed.
Recorded documents that are put on almost every property saying if you're not of Caucasian race, you cannot purchase that property.
It's disgusting.
Beyond disgusting. This cannot be tolerated because it's very true.
We're gonna go down with a fight.
That's tomorrow. This is unbelievable. Just so unbelievable. Tomorrow's episode may make some people uncomfortable or angry, but we're exposing this particular underbelly of society in order to talk about it and then do something about it. Also, we're going to meet a realtor who happens to be white, who explains how he and his team handle real estate bias they claim they've actually witnessed. Now, we're also going to take a closer look at the down and dirty tactics used in real estate bias, such as steering. And for anyone with an older home, I suggest that you take a very close look at the deed, because did you know that even though racially restrictive covenants were outlawed nationwide in 1948, the language remains on the deeds of many older homes nationwide. Now, the language is not enforceable, thank God, but it's still there. There are parts in there that say who you can't sell your home to. You won't want to miss part 2 of our expose. So for more information about today's episode, you can log on to drphil.com. And if you want to add your voice to the conversation, then go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, where we discuss these things, and join in to the conversation. If you're in the Los Angeles area or you plan to be and you want to be part of the show, then just go to drphil.com, click on Be in the Audience, and you'll get all the details. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, or Robin's, which is I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw. She talks to functional medicine specialist Kelsey Kohler and shares her triumphant story of using her education and passions to escape her cult. And now listen to Robin's podcast talking about the aftermath of her escape, her mental resilience, and being relentless about turning your dreams into a reality. You can find them both on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, a bitter divorce,
He's a horrible husband.
a new marriage,
Somebody spit in my husband's face because you told them that he didn't pay his child support.
a constant battle.
You called me names. You sent police to our home.
You said that they poisoned your son.
I said that she overdosed him on cough syrup.
You said she poisoned him.
But who's to blame?
We need to still be a family.
You're the reason we're not.
There have been 100 police reports, allegations of kidnapping, overdosing, brainwashing, and alienating.
And who's breaking the law?
I'm going to turn the whole bunch of you in. I'm just telling you straight up. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Well, Marla and Marty went through a bitter divorce in 2013. Marty then married Jennifer, and a shared parenting plan was eventually finalized with his ex that clearly stated neither party shall annoy, molest, interfere with, or harass the other in any manner, either directly or indirectly. Now, how do you suppose that worked out? They didn't come here because it worked out well. They did not listen. To date, the police have been called over 100 times to address alleged breaches of the parenting agreement. Now, according to Jennifer and Marty, Marla called the police one time with claims that Jennifer poisoned her 10-year-old son, David, and also accused her another time of kidnapping him. Jennifer has called 911 a few times on Marla, who she claims abused David. So who is at fault here? One thing is for sure, the child is paying the price for this parenting drama. Take a look.
Marty's ex-wife, Marla, is erratic, unstable, and she's crazy.
Marla is very controlling of my son.
Marla hates my guts, and she will do anything she can to make my life miserable.
She has turned my son against me.
Marla is constantly making up excuses why David can't see us, why he can't call us, why he can't visit or talk to us.
I'm not trying to keep my son from Marty and Jennifer, but they can't understand if he doesn't want to go over there. If I mention to David about seeing his father, he refuses and says he's not going.
When Marla doesn't let us see David, we don't play games. We go straight to the police.
We have probably filed 100 or more contempt of court charges against her, and we have spent over $40,000 in legal fees. She's mean, vindictive, and paranoid. Marla loves to use social media in a way to attack Marty and I. She calls Marty in her post a deadbeat dad and accuses him of not paying child support. I've been called a whore. I think Marla is completely delusional. She does have mental issues.
Once I was out of town, I got a phone call from the police department saying my son David was missing.
Marla told the police that she thought I had kidnapped David. About an hour after the police knocked on my door, they found David playing at the park.
Once David was at our home, and he had a little bit of a cough. So Jennifer gave him some cough medicine.
David was vomiting and throwing up. And at that point, we texted Marla. Marla sent the police to our home. Marla insisted that we had poisoned him with cough medicine.
The most disturbing was the time when David showed up with bruises on his body.
He was so nervous when we asked him about him. He had bruises all up and down his legs and all up and down his arms. And you can tell that they were from a handprint on his arm because you couldn't line up the hand. He said that he fell off of his scooter, but I know there is no way he got those bruises that way.
We contacted the police and Child Protective Services.
Somebody in Marla's household is responsible for it.
We're at a very critical moment. Marla's house is in foreclosure. She doesn't seem to have a plan or where David will be living. It's horrible that my son David is caught in the middle.
Okay, guys, I'm really glad you're here for reasons that might be apparent, maybe not. We'll get to that soon. But what's going on here? Why is this such a drama?
You know, it's hard. I watch my husband. He's a very hard worker. He's a very good provider, and he's a very good father. And to have these accusations, it's just ridiculous. They're not true. And, you know, my husband has been to the grocery store, had somebody spit in his face, telling him that he didn't pay his child support. He can't pick up his children alone. He's been arrested.
Why do you think this is going on? I mean, you were married to this woman for 28 years, right?
Yes.
Would you have predicted this?
Yes. She always made the threats. If we ever divorced, I'd never see my kids, and I'd die a lonely man.
How long has it been since you've seen your son?
June 2nd, after the court hearing, the last court hearing.
Marla's allegation is that you two physically abused David on Thanksgiving. So there's two sides to this. She says you guys are not safe for him to be around.
That's not true. We were watching him ride his scooter up and down our street when the police pulled in and told us that it was a welfare check and that he was very sorry that he had to disturb us on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I got problems here that I haven't even begun to get to. Marla says Jennifer is a crazy, manipulative, and interfering troublemaker. She also claims to have been harassed, stalked, and threatened by Marty and Jennifer. Take a look.
Before I confront Marty and Jennifer on stage, this is what I want Dr. Phil to know. All of these ridiculous accusations and crazy things they do to get back at me hurt David. Jennifer and Marty are out to make my life a living hell.
Paranoia and the accusations, it's exhausting.
Marty is not a good father and was a horrible husband. Jennifer has to be in the middle of everything. Marty condones all of her behavior. If he doesn't, he certainly hasn't tried to do anything to stop it. The bottom line is, I think Jennifer is a troublemaker. She needs to butt out and mind her own business. When my youngest son, David, comes back from his dad's house, he says all they do is talk bad about me and his siblings and dragging me back into court for something. This is just wrong. A child shouldn't have to go through all of this. Marty has a very quick temper, and it scares me. He's threatened to kill me. Marty has even stalked me. One time I was taking a walk, and I turn around, and he's just driving behind me. Jennifer does it, too. If David and I are out taking a walk, here she comes driving around the house. Marty and Jennifer just need to leave me alone. This has got to stop.
Okay, I'm glad you're here. Do y'all live nearby each other?
Yes.
Okay, so these two are stalking you.
Yes.
I mean, but what's the purpose? What's the goal?
I have no idea. I am just trying to take care of my children, and I don't know what the deal is, but we can't do anything. I mean...
How often have you caught them stalking you?
I can't even count. They've had people following me.
Dr. Phil,
Other people besides themselves.
Yes, my lawyer told me that they had someone following me.
Marla, that's ridiculous.
How do they know that?
That's ridiculous.
How does your lawyer know that?
He said their lawyer told him that, and he said it was harassment, and I said yes.
Their lawyer confessed to your lawyer
Yes.
that they had someone harassing you.
Yes.
You need to get a new lawyer.
That's what I'm thinking.
Their lawyer told your lawyer they were stalking you? Does this seem odd to you?
This whole situation is so bizarre that I can't. I contacted the show 4 years ago when this whole started because my older son Danny, who was here, was having so much trouble, and I was so worried about him.
That's not why you contacted the show.
They refused to go.
Because you wanted to come on here and talk about affairs, is what, and we did not. You were willing to air your dirty panties, is what you said in a Facebook post on your Facebook, January 2014.
I have never posted anything on my Facebook
That's a lie.
About this.
We have it.
That
we
is
have
not,
it here.
Then you fabricated it with all the things you make up.
I did not
with your
fabricate
stalking.
that.
For all I know, you've made up another Facebook page of me. My children and my friends know that I don't put my personal business all over Facebook.
Okay, well, there's a blueprint. They can follow that. There's an IP address.
Let them follow it. It didn't come from anything
would.
that I made up.
Because
okay? I sent a text message to the two of you, I believe, when I said, you know, you want to badmouth me all over town and humiliate Danny to where he won't even go to school, but you won't go to Dr. Phil and air our dirty panties to find out the truth. I believe was what I said.
Yes.
Okay?
I'm sure that they probably have the whole reason that you contacted them in the first place, and it wasn't due to the children. It was because you wanted to come and talk about an affair that my husband had prior to me even meeting him. You have called me a whore.
When I filed my divorce, you were thrilled, you were joyful.